Bitcoin is currently retesting a major short-term resistance at 67k. In today's video, we are doing a detailed and comprehensive analysis of the short-term and macro charts, going over absolutely everything that is happening, everything you need to know, and exactly how to plan and prepare for the next moves. This is a video you do not want to miss. Let's jump on in. Okay, MegaWhale team, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're all having a fantastic day today. In today's video, we are taking a look at Bitcoin's macro and short-term price action, discussing exactly what is happening on the charts, what you should be paying attention to, and the most important thing, how you can prepare and execute on the next moves. Before we do get into it, smash that like button, hit that comment button, and subscribe to the channel. We post daily videos of Bitcoin focusing on the facts, the data, the technical, and the structural information. No hype, no BS, no emotion, pure raw TA. If that is the kind of content you are interested in, join us on Telegram. It is the first link down below. You will get access to charts, updates, videos, educational posts, news events, and everything you need to stay in the loop of cryptocurrency with Bitcoin and the relevant economic news. If you are interested in taking your trading to the next level, join us on VIP. We post trading setups with exact entry prices, exact targets, exact stop losses, trade justification, exclusive analysis, and so much more. You'll also get access to our group chats, our general chat, trading chart and education chat, news, daily video, help, and trade setup chat. If that is what you're interested in, go ahead and contact me in the pinned comment of the free channel by clicking my name or these links for more information. Go ahead and check it out, and let's dive on in. So taking a look very briefly at the price action, over the last few days, we can see Bitcoin has managed to climb on back up to 67,000, very temporary. We can see we're currently retesting that 67,000 to 67,800 horizontal resistance marked out by this horizontal region on the chart. This is a critical short-term resistance in which Bitcoin will need to break and sustain above if we want to see a continuation to retest that mid to low $70,000 region. At this current point in time, we can see Bitcoin is sitting directly between the mid-level of this horizontal region, and therefore, in today's video, we'll be discussing what needs to happen for the price to go up and the consequences of it if we were to see a correction from this region. Let's take a look at the market data. 24-hour volume is sitting at 120 billion, down 2.72%, and 24-hour liquidations are down 32%, sitting at 108 million. Of the 108 million, 76 million have come from long positions, and 31 million have come from short positions. If we're looking at the 24-hour liquidations, of the 70, or should I say of the 108 million, only 27 million have come from Bitcoin. So a vast majority of liquidations over the past 24 hours have actually come from the altcoin market. Taking a brief look at the altcoin market, which we'll come back to in just a moment, we can see the altcoin market has dropped about a 22 billion market cap in comparison to what we saw here on the total, which dropped significantly less. Again, suggesting we saw increase in Bitcoin dominance, which we did, and thus altcoins have taken a little bit more of a beating over the last 24 hours than what we would generally see on a standard correction. Let's go ahead and jump over to the DXY. The DXY looks pretty much exactly where it was a few days ago. We saw a short-term dip underneath that trigger point at 104, but we have managed to climb back above it. Not really expecting too much movement here for the DXY, decisive movement at least, until we do have the Federal Reserve interest rate data, which is coming out, of course, on the 1st of August, paying very close attention to that event, as that's going to massively impact the directional expectations of the markets in the weeks and potentially the months to follow. Moving over to the S&P 500, we can see we did see a red weekly candle, actually engulfing the prior green candle. Last time we saw a bearish engulfing candle for the S&P 500 was back over here before that short-term correction developed. So it'll be very interesting to watch how this current weekly candle actually plays out. And in the short term, this could be a possible reversal developing. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into Bitcoin. A quick word from today's video sponsor before we do. I'd like to introduce our partner, BitUnix. BitUnix is a global, non-KYC, no country restriction exchange, making it a perfect exchange to trade on if you're from the USA, from Canada, the Netherlands, or just prefer to trade without KYC. This exchange is a futures and spot exchange with over 200 different trading pairs, and some of the lowest fees in the game. If you sign up with my link down below, you'll get access to 15% off your trading fees, as well as an exclusive reward center where you can claim up to a multitude in USDT prizes. So go ahead and sign up with my link down below for 15% off, and I'll see you in there. Okay guys, let's go ahead and get stuck into Bitcoin, and we're going to be taking a look at our daily charts primarily. And what we can see on the daily chart is Bitcoin has developed a very large bull flag formation, or in this instance, since it's been larger than 3 months, it is a descending channel formation. What we can see with the descending channel formation is we've got equal retests on the range high and the range low, indicated by our green and red arrows. We can see as of right now, Bitcoin has breached the mid level, which is the dashed trend line of the descending channel formation, resulting in a strong rally towards near the upper range. We're currently sitting at a price point around 67,000, which we'll be discussing in our short-term analysis. With the breakout of the mid-level, we have seen not only a continuation to near the range high, but with that, we've also seen a breakout on the RSI. The horizontal, or should I say the vertical red line, represents the point of which the RSI was able to breach through the downtrend, and we can see that happened right at around the $60,000 mark. So since we have had a positive shift in momentum, we have seen a considerable 11 to 12% rally for Bitcoin from that moment, going ahead and telling us again just how leading the RSI can be when utilized correctly. What this overall breakout represents is that we have seen a positive momentum shift for the price action, and we are in a position of strength. We are moving towards the range high in a position of strength, not a position of weakness. Now, this alone is not enough to suggest that Bitcoin is going to go flying into the $80,000 region. The risks of corrections again are still there, but the probabilities of those are lower, and we're discussing that in the short-term analysis. But taking this chart from a structural perspective, we can do something called a measured move analysis. This is simply measuring the ratios in distance between our range high, which is going to be point number 1, which is this point, to our range low, which is point number 2 of the channel, applying that to a perceived breakout point, and that will give us a general guideline for a target of which could be expected if we were to break through this downtrending trend line. So I'll say it again. Only if we were to break through this downtrending trend line would this measured move target become valid and active, not beforehand. So this isn't a short-term analysis. This isn't me saying Bitcoin is going to go straight up, but this is me saying if Bitcoin is able to break through this downtrend, we should be then looking for these higher targets, and it's currently sitting around 85,000. When we get to our short-term analysis, we're discussing what could happen on the immediate price action, because Bitcoin could definitely see a short-term correction before that continuation, or we could just see a straight-up continuation. Again, we need to look at the short-term charts for that. If we zoom out to the daily again, we can see we are currently sitting back above that 200 moving average. So we do have some key trigger points here on the daily, specifically from a structural perspective. We are still watching that midline of the horizontal channel, because what we can see is that every time we have broken above the midline, we have this green circle, and we have seen directional continuations to the range high every single time we break above the midline. So while we remain above this midline, we are expecting an eventual retest of that range high, as we saw in these prior instances. Whereas when we break below the midline, representative by a red circle, we'll see continuations toward the range low, again representative of a shift in overall strength within the bounds of the current descending channel. Therefore, if we were to see a loss of that mid-level, that would be a strong indication that with the positive momentum, with the breakout, Bitcoin was still unable to garner the strength required to see a directional continuation, and we would likely see a break back under the 200 and into this lower region of liquidity. That would be the bearish case scenario. So while we remain above the dotted trend line, we are expecting continuations on the higher time frame to the range high. If we drop below the dotted trend line, that is when we should start getting worried for these corrections lower. For this descending channel to invalidate, Bitcoin will need to drop below the sell side liquidity, which is going to be at 53,300 of the prior range low retest. A loss of this orange line would invalidate the expected eventual breakout of the channel and thus a directional continuation lower. Let's go ahead and talk about the macro charts momentarily again. What you can see, this macro chart is a representation of the overall direction and strength of Bitcoin as well as the momentum, but it provides insights on our trigger points. We can see we had a very similar pattern play out. This was, of course, a retest of the leading span B, the leading span B being the red line of the lower part of the cloud, Ichimoku cloud indicator, with the crossover of the stochastic RSI at the time of which the RSI was greater than the prior RSI reading when we retested the first time. So this triple validation told us, well, we're now in a position of strength here in comparison to this point, indicating the probability for a bounce is greater than the probability for a correction, and we saw that bounce upwards. Since then, we have reclaimed the leading span A and the conversion line, or should I say the baseline of the Ichimoku cloud, suggesting overall strength and very much that Bitcoin is still in a macro uptrend. However, like we said before, if we were to drop below that level of support, we would ultimately be losing that leading span B, and if we lose the leading span B, we are going to see a strong correction around 15 to 16% to that $48,000 region. Now, every single time we lose a leading span B, we see strong corrections of Bitcoin between 15 to about 70%. So we would be expecting the loss of the leading span B to mark the end of the uptrend we have been in ever since we broke above it all the way back in Feb 2023. That, nearly 2 year long uptrend, year and a half long uptrend will be over if we drop below the leading span B. Until then, it is not. Until then, Bitcoin is technically macro bullish. Now, while we remain above the leading span B, we are expecting higher, guys. It is simple as that. Let's move over to the short-term charts. What we can see here in the short term is our horizontal levels. So we had our diagonal, we had our structural levels here. We are looking at our horizontal levels on this chart. We can see some very key horizontal levels. Primarily, the most important horizontal levels are ones that were marked out with annotations. So we have our major support at 53,000, again, our sell side liquidity. We've got a major resistance, which is now support at 58.3. We can see when we broke out of that region, we expected a bullish target of 64,000, which we had reached. We have got that $64,000 area, which is now an area of support. Again, this is going to be around about the midline of that channel. That 64,000 region makes up with that midline of the channel. And now we have got our first level of resistance, which is going to be the range low of the prior horizontal consolidation prior to the initiation of that 5 to 6 week long downtrend. We are currently smack bang retesting that level as we speak. So if we are able to sustain above this level, we do expect that macro continuation, which will take us to retest that range high. If we retest the range high, well, we have positive momentum, we are likely going to break through it. So this level of resistance is mainly the most important short-term resistance, and we could say almost one of the last levels of resistance before Bitcoin finally breaks through this horizontal resistance it has been under for what? 4 months now, a very important level. Now, if we were to see a rejection from this level, which we'll discuss in a second, we could see a correction toward that level of support of 64K, and that is okay, provided we are able to sustain above 64 to 63,000, because again, that 63,000 diagonal trigger is a bearish trigger, so we wouldn't want to see the price action drop below that level. If we drop below that level, we become bearish again for Bitcoin. We do not want to see that happen. We would like to see the price sustain. So let's jump over now into the shorter time frame, the hourly chart, and discuss how the price action is really looking. So what we can see over here, guys, it is quite choppy actually. We can see Bitcoin is able to sustain from this support. And this is the last video we did. We did a video over here, and then I was sent to hospital for a few days, got discharged from hospital last night, so back at the videos over here. We can see Bitcoin was able to sustain this low. We talked in our prior video that if we were able to sustain this low, we are expecting continuations upwards. In fact, we do have a little post about it here somewhere in the Telegram channel. here was a image from our last video. We talked about a retest of that sell side liquidity, retest of a low before continuations higher. And that is pretty much what we saw. We saw a retest and a continuation higher into the next resistance. What we are seeing here is we are seeing a very clear downtrend in the RSI, which is representative of exhaustion. Bitcoin is retesting an area of horizontal resistance. We are starting to see some selling pressure. We are starting to see bears step in a little bit. The big question is, are the bears going to step in at a greater rate than the people are buying? If so, we will see a correction. If not, we are going to see something called absorption. So what do we see of the price action right now? Well, we can actually see some very, very faint absorption going on. I wouldn't say this is a strong indication of absorption, but we're seeing a very small amount of absorption. The reason I say that is because we can see we have downtrending RSI over here, but we have a very slightly uptrending degree of price action here. So we have a very, oh, should I actually drag it from here? Sorry. We have a very, very faint indication of absorption going on. Again, this has only been lasting for, we're looking at about nearly 24 hours, so about 30 hours, we're seeing a bit of absorption at a support level, which is a good indication. So that is telling us while we are hitting a resistance, the resistance is not being taken too seriously as of right now. The buyers are still stepping in, Bitcoin still has strength, and if we are able to see that RSI break upwards, that will represent that the sellers within this resistance have exhausted and the price action will continue upwards. If we fail to sustain above this area of support, particularly we are looking for the change of structure level, which is going, or should I say change of character, which is going to be the 66,000 area. Particularly if we lose 66,000, that is going to be the indication the buyers have exhausted and the sellers have taken over. So again, for us to get the trigger to go upwards, watch the RSI break. For us to get the trigger to go downwards, watch the $66,000 level. I'm going to leave the video there, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll catch you guys in the next video. See you then. Bye.